It's Liam Alexander Stewart with Inside the Ropes, and I'm back again with another fantastic interview for you today. You can see my guest across to my left, where we're talking about one of the premier British athletes in professional wrestling, talking about a former Commonwealth competitor, and the man who is now here to motivate Impact Wrestling. It's none other than Mr. Joe Hendry. Joe, how are you doing today?
Hello, Lee. I'm doing very well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. It's Champions League night, so I'm excited to watch some football later on, but excited more so to be sat here talking with you. It's been one I've been looking forward to doing
Don't
for a
don't
while.
start the interview off with a lie, okay?
No, it's true. It's true. I've been following your career for a while from the time in WCPW, one of the first shows I saw here in Edinburgh, you competing for that title, to the stuff you've done in ICW and now in Impact. Super excited to sit down and chat with you. And I think it only makes sense. You've been gone from Impact Wrestling for 4 years now. I think the last time we saw you was, I think, Mexico City against Murder Clown. I think that was the last time
That,
we saw you.
yep, that is the last time. That was an
um,
experience. That was an experience.
it's a hell of a sentence to say, is Mexico
It is.
City and
It
Murder
is.
Clown.
Yeah.
Um, how does it feel to be back in Impact Wrestling? And yeah, how excited are you?
Well, I've recovered from being put through a table by a murder clown. I've made it back to Impact Wrestling. Now, I'm delighted to be here. It's one of those things. It's just very excited. The last 3 weeks, been doing these vignettes. I've had a lot of creative freedom. So I'm very excited going into Bound for Glory. I'm able to say I am going to be on that show in front of the live audience. I can't say what I'll be doing yet, but I will be on that show and I will be involved significantly. So I am very excited. I'm about to I've got some things to do to get ready, and then I'm leaving tomorrow for New York. So very exciting. It's crazy. It's the pandemic was a wild time for a lot of wrestlers, but now it's back to business, and I'm just super excited to be with Impact because I really feel that they believe in what I'm doing. They're giving me a platform to put across what I want to put across, to express myself the way I want to express myself. I'm really excited. It's an awesome team, awesome locker room. Let's go.
Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it. Yeah, Bound for Glory, October 7th, this Friday. It's going to be a hell of a show, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. But first, I want to ask you, we mentioned that 4 year duration between when we last saw you in Impact and now, and you mentioned the pandemic there. I think both in wrestling, it's been a crazy 6 months in wrestling, never mind 4 years, and just in the world in general. What's changed for Joe Hendry between then and now? What do you think has elevated you during that time, and what changes can fans expect?
So basically, I it's crazy how life works out. Like I feel like I'm one of these people that I believe everything happens for a reason. And the pandemic helped me as a wrestler because I think, with me, there was always something that clicked. I always knew how to entertain the fans, and I was very focused with, my entrances and my promos and the stuff that I was putting out there. But I think it took the pandemic for me to become an all-round complete performer. I had to be really honest with myself. I was away from the business for a while because of that. And I remember seeing some action figures, and I really thought, if I was an action figure, I'd probably be the most boring one. So I was like, right, well, I got to do something to change that. So I started thinking about what can I do, how can I mix this up. I started thinking I need to do something different in ring now as well. And the suggestion of my trusted colleagues to go back and start watching wrestling from like 1996. So I started watching that religiously, and I saw the rise of Psycho Sid, and I was like, yeah, I think wrestling needs more of this. So I decided to dye my hair blonde. Again using power bombs and choke slams and things like that. I thought, in wrestling, there's a lot of amazing athleticism and stuff like that, but actually we just need some badasses in there throwing people around. And so again, it was weird. People made me in the video game, and again, I saw my character, and I've got Fire Pro Wrestling. That's one of my favorite wrestling games, if not my favorite one, the one for the Game Boy Advance. And I remember playing that, and I was just like, in 2019, I was like, I wouldn't want to make and play myself in that game. So what would I need to do? So I genuinely made myself in a bunch of different video games and mess around with different move sets, different looks and things like that. So yeah, people, don't yeah, it's one of those things. You can definitely lean on the video games to get inspiration to revamp your character. I know that's kind of frowned upon in a lot of ways, but it helped me massively. So yeah, I think it was taking a step back, seeing the business as like an outsider from like a fan perspective again, and going, what would I actually want to watch? And now I think I'm able to match up the entrances and the vignettes. We're doing something, taking what Psycho Sid and Scott Steiner did back in the day, but trying to put my own spin on that as well.
No, definitely. And I think it's clear to anyone that's been watching sort of the stuff you've been doing recently here in the UK, Wrestle Carnival, and sort of the stuff you've been doing in Poland as well, and wrestling all over, sort of this real evolution of Joe Hendry that's been happening. And I think it's funny you mentioned the video games. We saw recently Xavier Woods saying that to design his gear, he used to go on and people would make custom gear for him on the game and he would check it out. So I think it's great to see that's in a creative outlet. And I mean, we know as a performer, we've seen the entrances for a while. You're one of the most creative guys going, so it's good to see that link up continue. Impact Wrestling's roster, I think, for my money, is one of the most stacked divisions going. I mean, the women's division alone is kind of universally accepted as the
Yeah.
women's division, but across the X division, the heavyweight division here in Impact, you know, you're looking at guys, Josh Alexander, Moose, Eddie Edwards, Eric Young. And then you've got kind of the pure athletes as well down in the X division there with the likes of Mike Bailey, Tree Miguel, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, to name but a few. What do you think makes Joe Hendry stand out from those guys? What do you think is going to help elevate you above everyone else to the top guy in Impact?
Yeah, so I mean the roster is unbelievable. Like, as alongside the talents you just mentioned, like everybody there is there for a reason, and it's for example, like just watching Delirious wrestle Mike Bailey the other week, it was like, we've known Delirious has always been a busy guy in the business, but seeing him being able to focus, on solely on being a in-ring performer against Mike Bailey, it was like, wow, like I hadn't seen that combination before. And it was like those again, those are two random names that I'm pulling off the roster. It's like you've got at the same time the some of the matches that I saw while I was there at the tapings, it was unbelievable. Again, watching like the triple threat with Steve Macklin and Sammy Callahan and Moose, like the awesome thing about them is they all brought something totally different to the table. There were three very different competitors who bring three very different things to the table. So it was a compelling story that they were telling. And I look at that and it's like, yeah, you better bring it. Like I personally believe I can do things in the ring now that I haven't seen anybody else do. So there are amazing feats of strength going on in the business right now. But for me, like, so for example, I can hit the fallaway slam on two guys at the same time. And at the weight I'm at, like I feel like I can do super heavyweight moves as a heavyweight, if you know what I mean. But I can do that and then I can nip up afterwards as well. So it's I feel like for me, it was, I had a conversation with Jonathan Gresham, and it was him that really helped me understand who I needed to be in the ring. And he was basically saying, you're a technical guy that does powerful moves. And it was more trying to switch it and go, what if you're a powerful guy that does the odd technical move? So now my move set is really kind of inspired by old school all Japan, like that sort of stuff. That's kind of really what I'm trying to steer into. But I think what makes me different on the Impact Wrestling roster is my tenacity to produce content. Like I will, like this is the thing. Everybody, a lot of people online were like, Hendry can't get over without his entrances, right? Because of the, copyright or whatever. But if you actually go back, to my first time in Impact, like I wasn't there for very long. I was only there for like 3 months or so. And honestly, if you were there live when we did that Access Denied video, that was an original song. That wasn't a copyrighted song, and we got that over. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for longer to see where it went. So I can do songs without copyright, but I also wanted to prove that I could do something different entertainment wise. I really wanted to challenge myself, and that's why I wanted to do something crazy with the vignettes, which is what we did. I don't know, like Liam, if you could imagine pitching to management and saying, right, we're going to have a hospital, and there's the dad, and he wakes up and because he claps some entrance, but then I burst in, and then the actually you can think of these funny ideas, but the actual execution of it is very difficult. But I think I've proven now that I can do what I do with the entrances, I can do what I can do with the vignettes, and I'm going to challenge myself to do it with promos. I have ideas to do things in ring in the exact same way. I want to basically deconstruct every aspect of pro wrestling and become a complete performer that can be relied upon to be thrust into any spot. So where I think I can excel though is I think that my ability to draw upon that British humor, but still, I'm like I've got, I've done a lot of legit competition in my life. I think I can bring that. I'm always, throughout lockdown, I built up to 265 at one point. Like I feel like I've reinvented my physique, my move set. I think, to be honest, it's my desire and my drive to get better all the time, every single day. I think that's what will push me to the top. And I think I understand this business way better now, having had that pandemic, because I take nothing for granted now. Every single show that I do is a gift. Like I love this business, and I needed it to be taken away from me to realize how much I love it and how far I'm willing to go. So I think, to be honest, that the main things that will get me to the top is my ability to think creatively and my tenacity. My I will not stop. If I need to stay up right through the night to edit something or to finish a creative idea, I'm going to do that. If it, what just whatever it's going to take to entertain that audience, that's what I believe will take me forward.
I love it, man. And I mean, we've seen Scottish guys, Drew Galloway, get to the top of Impact Wrestling before. So you've got the people of Scotland, the people of the UK behind you as well, rooting for you, which I think is we saw from the events here back in the day is a big plus. I want to ask you, you've taken on kind of a who's who in Impact Wrestling before. You've taken on the likes of Kurt Angle before as well, names that are really familiar to that Impact audience. Of the roster there, the guys we mentioned, is there anyone particular at the moment you've got your eyes on that you'd like to get in that ring with?
100%. If you're giving me the option, Brian Myers is who I want to face. I would like to do something with him for that digital media championship. That's what I think would be most entertaining for the fans. That's what I'd really like to do. But on a personal, selfish level, like two guys that have really sort of taken me under their wing. Well, Eric Young, I would say, is the main one for me. Like we were on a show together in Germany, and he's just been amazing for advice, and even just to be around, him and Frankie Kazarian, like to just absorb that knowledge. I've been fortunate enough to be around these guys and just hear them tell the stories and give the lessons and their perspective on the business. Because if I look at those two guys, I'm looking at longevity and people that have been over consistently for a long period of time. So Frankie Kazarian for sure. He's with us right now, and Eric Young as well. That's another one. Sammy Callahan is like an unbelievable performer. The way he tells stories is there's just something magical about his matches. Steve Macklin seems like a badass to me. I'd like to mix it up there. Moose as well. I've wrestled Moose before, but I'd like to see what it's like to, see how, can I do these power moves against, someone like Moose? I believe I can, but I'm looking forward to seeing if that's possible. But there's so many, like I think I could have fun in the X division as well, like because I can do suplexes on multiple people. Like I think I could be, just that sort of the strong dude in the X division, if you know what I mean. I think that'd be fun as well. Long story short, there's so many great wrestlers and characters, and even like the behind the scenes staff. I love the ethos that we have at Impact. It's all about enabling the performers to be the best versions of themselves. And I feel like since I got there, I've had nothing but support from the creative team to really just be me, but also, maybe let's have you thought about it this way? Let's tweak that idea. So they're still letting me be me, but we're going, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? And on the UK Indies, I've always been used to like my entrances are just me. Whereas like now it's cool to mix it up and see, actually how do we adapt this for, television as opposed to, an entrance video. And so I've been learning a lot. It's been awesome, and I can't wait to get stuck in,
No, definitely. I think it's interesting you mentioned kind of that creativity, that learning curve, because I've spoken to a few guys from Impact now, and the one thing that seems to shine true is just that backstage atmosphere. There was the video recently of everyone singing that old He-Man, hey yeah yeah, backstage in the locker room, just the general togetherness. And I mean, we're seeing rifts elsewhere in locker rooms and wrestling. So I think it's really refreshing to see that side of community spirit that you're talking about, and that creative freedom for the athletes. We've got Bound for Glory on Friday. You've mentioned that you will be there. You can't say what, but you will be there. Outside of that, for fans that maybe haven't checked out Impact in a little while, or fans of yours that are wanting to come across and watch, what can they expect from Bound for Glory? And is there a particular match that you would recommend they definitely keep an eye on?
You almost got me to give up what I'm doing there on Bound for Glory. That was almost. I think you should watch the whole show, because genuinely, I 100% believe Impact Wrestling has the best wrestling television product right now. I've said this multiple times. I've had conversations with people who think the same thing. Lance Storm tweeted it the other day, and I know we're biased, but for me personally, I like wrestling shows to be a wrestling show. I like to escape in that world, and I just feel that Impact is it's it's got the courage to just be itself, and just be different. And I think that Bound for Glory is our showcase, and I think that's, if you haven't watched in a while, I think that is just the best possible place to pick up and see the card that's on offer here, because this is no stone's going to be left unturned here. This is the one that you got to check out. So I'm excited to go out there to a new audience, but I'm also excited to showcase my act in North America again. And I'm very, it's weird, life just has a way of working itself out. I'm very grateful to be here. I remember when I spoke to Impact, I says, listen, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is my goals. And I tell you what, if I can't execute on what I'm saying, if I can't do what I say I can do, if I'm not who I say I am, then you can just fire my ass on the spot. And I literally said that, and they were like, all right, well, there you go. So here's the deal. I now need to put my money where my mouth is, and I now need to deliver. I need to, with that valuable time that I get, I need to create a moment that people are going to be talking about. So we've had that with the vignettes. I need to carry that momentum forward, and I need to tell the world that I'm a main eventer on at Bound for Glory. That's what I need to do. I need to tell the world that I am a main event player, because that's my goal. I want to get to the top of the company. I want to create these moments. I go back to when I was, I think 18 years old. I had a video iPod with Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe 2006. I think it might be in Genesis, and it's like, now here I am. It's like it's come full circle. So I'm very excited to showcase what I can do. And yeah, if you haven't watched in a while and you want to just see a great wrestling show, this is the one. So tune in, Bound for Glory, and it's on Fight TV.
There you had it, guys. Make sure you check out the links. Will all be down below. My pick, there's a few matches, and I'm sure whatever Joe's in is going to be great. But also, I've got to say that past versus present of the X Division match, Kazarian, Mike Bailey, that's got my attention. I'm looking forward to that. Joe, I know you've got a flight tomorrow, but before we let you go, looking through your Twitter, looking at kind of what you've been up to and following you, I've seen that something you've kind of gone into recently is the more training side of wrestling, and I'm intrigued on how training, how sort of coming into the Joe Hendry Pro Wrestling School, how that's changed your mindset on wrestling, and if there's anything that's kind of taught you that the years in the business hadn't.
100%. I genuinely put my understanding of wrestling now and who I am in ring, I put that 100% down to having a training school. Because what I've tried to do at my training school which is EdinburghWrestling.com, by the way. You set me up there, I had to say it. But if you do want to come and train with me, it's EdinburghWrestling.com. And what I try and do with my students is I let them be themselves. A lot of training schools, it can be very sort of, like almost like the military, like yes sir, no sir. And it's like, you've got to have respect in the business, but ultimately I would rather people cultivate their personalities and turn the volume up on it. And if I have to pull people back every so often, so be it, but I like people to be the best version of themselves, and we work really hard. But what happens is I find that we get all these unique individuals, and I like them to have their own nuances. So I've got a student who's a bit like a Jeff Hardy. I've got another one who's like Vader. I've got another who is a bit more like a Triple H, or I've got various different students who I'm trying to look at their acts in terms of in ring and their personas, and I have to think about wrestling differently for each one of them. Like, what moves would this person do? What would this person say? And I think having to see the business as a whole, it helped me think about how I would interact with these people. But also, I get in there and wrestle with them a lot of the time, so it keeps me on my toes. And it, you know, there's a point where my students' matches were so good in training. I was like, Jesus, I'm gonna have to jump in here and keep up with these guys. So it's we've got, and then I've got another student who just got she just got fifth at the Arnold's, like third strongest woman in the country as well. So it's like, we've got some real high level athletes at all different levels as well. There's a worker, Ian Skinner, who's one of my assistant coaches. DCT is my assistant coach. We've got an amazing staff there, and but yeah, I think just that humility of being away from wrestling, coupled with the training school, that's what's prepared me to go into this opportunity. And I now need to represent Scotland. I need to represent, my trainees, the Scottish wrestling scene, and go out there and show what we're all about, show what we can do. And Bound for Glory is the perfect place for me to do it.
Perfect, man. Well, glad to hear it. You guys heard the link there. It'll be down below as well, along with the link to Fight to check out Bound for Glory. Joe, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today. Before we go, just anything you want to plug, anything else, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. So for me, I want everyone to check out Bound for Glory on Friday. It is at Fight TV. So go to fight.tv and get Bound for Glory. Watch, this is going to be an unbelievable pay-per-view from top to bottom. The talent is unbelievable. The setting as well. It's in Albany, New York. It's going to be a hot crowd. So go check out Bound for Glory Impact Wrestling on Fight TV. I've been Joe Hendry, and yeah, go check out to see what I'll be doing on Friday.
Perfect. Well, there you heard it, guys. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you check out the links below. I've been Liam Stewart. This has been Inside the Ropes. Peace.